Sue Lamont here today, videotaping her stories of Treasure Island, and I'm Bob Dowling with the Treasure Island Historical Society, and we thank you for coming today, Sue.
Oh, you're welcome.
And if you could tell us about when you got here on the Treasure Island, and sort of what some of what you did out here, and about Hugh Lamont, your husband.
No, my husband was Alex Lamont.
I'm sorry, Alex Lamont.
Hugh Lamont was his brother. He was
Right.
mayor of Madeira Beach.
My confusion, so maybe you could help us explain some of that, because I don't have it all
Okay.
in my mind.
My late husband Alex Lamont and I came to Florida in 1963, and we first were in Tampa. Then we moved over to Madeira Beach in '67, and then to Treasure Island in 1969.
Okay.
At the time, I had started working for the John's Pass Seafood Company, which the Rices owned at that time.
Okay,
Charlie
speak up,
and Agnes Rice.
Yeah, speak up, just, yeah.
Okay.
Projection.
And then my late husband, he's a textile chemist from Glasgow, Scotland, and we had our own businesses, but then the dyeing business died, as you might say, and we were into dry cleaning and other businesses, so it seemed like the industry here was more or less tourism and fishing. So he was working for the Fishermen's Co-op on Madeira Beach. Then when we moved to Treasure Island, he started working for the John's Pass Seafood Company. And we had the small cottage in front of the trailer park down on, it's now Kingfish Drive, but it used to be Gulf Boulevard because the old bridge was there, and they tore that down. I'm not sure what year, but I believe they built a new bridge somewhere around 71 or
71, 72.
and so that street was known as Gulf Boulevard. So when the new bridge came in, my address of the cottage was 12765 Gulf Boulevard. Of course, there was no such number, and it was confusing, and also the seafood company. So I got with Mr. Rice, Charlie Rice Sr., and we went to the city and asked them if they would change the name of the street to Kingfish Drive, and they did.
Oh,
So that's how Kingfish Drive came into being. Then we lived there. Then we bought cottages Lamont Court on Treasure Island, and we moved there. And the Rices sold the seafood company to Consolidated Food, which later was Sara Lee. We had a division, Booth Fisheries. Then when they brought all the corporate people in, and I had started my own business on the side anyway, and called Fisherman's Bookkeeping Service, which I ran out of the cottage there at the park, in front of the mobile park, and I took care of all of their business, and I quit the seafood company because I got into my own business more and more. So then I changed the name to John's Pass Bookkeeping Service because I started taking on accounts that were different. Then I moved out of the cottage at the trailer park, and I no longer took care of any of the Rice properties, and then my business grew into different things, and I called it Lamont Bookkeeping Service, which is later now Lamont Management. That we basically do a lot of condominiums on the island and so forth.
you're very successful.
That has been, yes, just glad it has been. Bought my own office building there on 104th Avenue now, and it's going good. A lot of condos are springing up. There used to be a lot of places that we enjoyed going to and doing things like the Ramada Inn and the Holiday Inn with the Skywatch restaurant upstairs, nice place to eat and have a couple of dances and so forth. And my late husband was very much into his Scottish history and background, and he approached the city, which was Walter Stubbs was the mayor at the time, and of course he was English, and asked about putting on the Scottish Games on Treasure Island. So in 1988 he was successful in getting that started. They were, unfortunately, he got cancer, and then after the 88 games, after the cancer, he also suffered a heart attack and died in 89, in June of 89. So we carried on the Scottish Games right at the community center and in the park there for another 4 years. And then I got out of the Scottish Games. It was just too much with my business and everything going, so it went on for 2 years after. But that was a lot of work to do. There were a lot of people that came.
Put Treasure Island on the map with that.
I think so. There were a lot of people came over, and the old country, Scotland, and all that. You know, there are a lot of people. They have a good following. And the clans come from all over. I still belong to Clan Lamont Society of North America and Clan Lamont Society of Canada. And they, when you belong to these things, the people come to the different things. They man tents. So you have
The clans are
the committees in each section of the United States.
Oh.
So, you know, it was good. You have a lot of clan participation, and they put on, they still do the games in Dunedin, I guess. They've been doing them there for years. So.
They have the Scottish band up there at the high school.
Yeah, so we had the bands can come from different places because they have competitions. You have pipe competitions, you have drumming competitions, you have dancing competitions, you have the tossing of the caber, the stone, you have the sheepdog rounds up the sheep, you know, all different things that go on more than what people think. So
Quite exciting for Treasure Island.
I think so. A lot of people, you know, at the various business places or condos and apartments they would sit out on their balconies and stuff so they could listen to the music and the pipes and all going on. And to my knowledge, I've never had any complaints that the noise was too much or
Those
anything.
are good pipes to hear.
No.
You said you had Lamont Court. Where was that?
That's at 12401 Gulf Boulevard.
Okay.
So right across from Sand Pebble, Catacorna.
That's right, okay.
Yeah. I remember all those places, and looking back in the brochures from the games, there were people advertised. A lot of the businesses are gone, especially the smaller businesses, and that's a shame. I don't know why, you know, they just come and go, but it is something tough to, it's tough to crack, and you have to have, with the computer and everything going technical or electronic or whatever it is these days, it's not the old pen and pencil like I used to do, and of course I had to learn the computer and all to do it all, and now, but you have to have something where you use your mind and stuff. You have to have some, especially like in my business, you know, you don't so much depend on the electronics as you do service. You've got to have service.
You've got to know the law too for condominiums, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you remember, did the Sandcastle replace that? Was that after the Irish games or Scottish games?
No, the big sandcastle, that was Ralph Brayshure's. And he was before that. The Ricky T's was an old Quonset hut that sold T-shirts. And Ralph Brayshure's girlfriend Patty ran the T-shirt shop there. Then I'm not sure when it converted into a restaurant, but before Ricky T's it was somebody else. And then VIP has been there all the time, and of course the Bilmar was run differently with Bill Baltz and
Baltz family.
yeah.
Russ Baltz.
Russ Baltz.
Old dog.
And yeah, I know old Russ. Yeah.
Well, he was, Alex was very active with the American Legion, I believe, wasn't he?
He was active in everything. That he was.
In the community, good community service person.
He was
As you are,
active.
too.
He started actually the John's Pass Festival goes on now in October, late October, I think it is.
But on this side.
He started that on this
Treasure
side.
Island, yeah.
On Treasure Island, down by the Kingfish, where the old dock was down there. And he had the Scottish Federation of Fishermen came over. He had the bagpipe band, the Shriners, and we put on a big fish fry, and it was basically the fishermen. And the concept was the fishermen contributed the fish at no cost, and then the funds went into them to help promote their fresh seafood and for whatever, problems that they would have. He even did one time we did a protest. There was threats that we were going to go to jail, but they got the fleet of boats up, and we went out and we were going to block the Skyway Bridge to block the oil from coming in because of the prices of the diesel that the fishermen were paying.
Wow.
So then we got word that some of us could be arrested because they didn't have a. You're not supposed to do that. You can't block in the waterway.
Federal waterway there.
Right. So Alex arranged to get a parade permit. So it was, we pulled it off and pulled the same thing, but it was under the guise of a parade. And they really didn't block anybody. I mean, the Coast Guard came out and squirted water out of off their boat and stuff, and yeah, it was actually a lot of fun.
I've never heard that story.
Oh, there's all written up in the paper. The reporters and all came to the SOFA meeting, the television stations, and they were filming and blowing it up. Oh, the fishermen are going to, how the media can explode some of these things. So everybody was anticipating, oh, we're going to have a big fight,
Sue, how was it to work with Charlie Rice? He's kind of an icon in this area. I mean, he's a great guy.
The old man
Yeah, the
you're
old
talking
man.
about, yeah. Well, he was, I got along very well with both he and Agnes, and Donald Kate was running the fish company, basically, and I can remember after Charlie had to bow out some because he was getting up in ages, that he'd sit out in front of the Kingfish when it was on the right-hand side there in that building. I guess that's torn down now. It used to be on the left-hand side when I moved there. It was right on the dock. The boards, you could see water flowing underneath the cracks. You sit there and they had a big mural of King Neptune on the wall, and with mermaids and treasure chests and stuff. And they moved it though, I guess, because of the health codes and all that stuff. But they had a little bar, and the old man used to sit at the bar there with a brass rail, and he chewed tobacco and he could spit right into this little drain, and he had water running, and he poured the drinks down there, and he would run right into the intercoastal. I had no telling what else went on. But anyway, they closed that and moved over to the other building, and then when he was getting out of it, I guess Sid was basically running it. It used to be the old Rio bar was in there, and they had a colorful bartender named Peaches. Do you remember him?
I do.
Yeah, Peaches go around, he could balance a glass of water on his head and flit around and serve drinks at the tables and never spill a drop and never drop the glass off his head. And then Gigi was a barmaid there too, and she was colorful as well. Anyway, the old man would sit there in front of the restaurant with his cane, and when the women would go by, he could lift his cane up like that, and they lift the back of their dress up while they're waiting to go in. Women wore dresses more, like a long time ago.
Charlie.
But he came and asked me one day, and I was doing all of the accounting for him, and of course Sid had taken it over, and he came and he asked me, and he said, "Oh, how much money did Sid make last night?" And I said, take in from the restaurant. And I said, well, I can't tell you that. It's his books. What do you mean you can't tell me? I said, well, it's not your books anymore, it's his books. And I don't, I'm ethical, I have no right to tell you. You want to know? Go ask Sid. He said, well, I don't even have to ask Sid, because I could tell there were this many people came through, and I'm figuring they spent at least this much ahead. I bet you he took in and he named a figure, just to see if I would verify it, but I didn't. But I didn't have any problem with him. Later on, after he got older, he started losing his mind. He didn't know what was going on and stuff. And he was staying in that motel that
Was it a Lantern or
Kingfish
something?
Motel.
They had bought it by then.
The lady that had it died, and then the Rices wound up with it.
So you got along with Agnes okay?
Oh yes, Agnes and I were really good buddies. And we didn't socialize a lot, but she trusted me, and I knew me, and I think it was like over 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah, good.
Excellent.
I went to work there in '69.
Yeah.
When she just died recently in 11 or 12. She just died last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
12.
November was the celebration of life. Peaches is a name that keeps coming up in this thing, and people apparently, I never met him, but was apparently quite a character.
Yeah, I don't know if I can say much, but he was.
Oh, you can say anything you want.
A lot of stuff going on. There was back in the fishermen, they called they called them square grouper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Really
They go out
important.
fishing and get accused of fishing for square grouper. So
Yeah.
I didn't see any of that going on when I was there. So.
It was happening everywhere on any coast of Florida, I'm sure.
I know basically down, like, I think it was at Emerald City, is it down by Naples,
Yes.
somewhere down there?
You
Yeah.
were working for them when Carol Malkin was working there too?
Yes,
Carol Malkin?
yes.
Yeah.
She was secretary for Sid at the Kingfish.
How about any storms that you weathered?
Oh, I think the worst one came through was Agnes. And I understand they haven't named any hurricanes Agnes since then, because that name has been taken off. But
Wow.
that one came through. That was really bad. There were Scotty Joe worked at the seafood company too, and
Remember what year that was, Agnes?
seems
70s?
must have been late 70s or early 80s.
I'm not sure.
We can find
We'll
out.
look it up.
It had to, I want to say maybe early 80s, 82 or something. Because we left the island, but Scotty Joe had a couple of friends over from Scotland.
Scotty Joe is,
Scotty Joe Gribben, he worked at the seafood company
Okay.
too. He rented a cottage from Alex and I, and he worked at the seafood company, so he thought, well, he'll just stay and ride it out, and the two people from Scotland stayed with him, and then after that was over, but he said he'd never do it again because of course the sewer didn't work, there was no water, there was no sewage, and everything backed up, and the seafood company smelled, and of course they had backup generators for the freezer because they had tons of frozen seafood in there, a lot of stock. But that's the worst one I know of. We had one, the last one, we left the island again one time, but Alex was already deceased then, I think.
no name.
So the Rices were always button heads with Mayor Stubbs.
Oh, we got along. I got along with him. Yeah. He was okay. I think the worst ones well, I don't know if I should, the hardest to deal with at the city were back when Southward was on. And,
Oh, yeah, sure.
there was a lady that was on, I think she's deceased now, and Julian Fant was a commissioner. But this is way back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's neat.
Well, I guess that's about it, Sue. I thank you for, brought a lot of good stories up.
We hope you enjoyed the history and the tales of Treasure Island. There's more to come. We have over 57 hours of the tales of Treasure Island. So as soon as we can get them to you, we will. Thanks for watching Tales of Treasure Island.